on cargo theft. One of the things, and Kenny touched on it, we touched on it a little bit, and I'll go through this a little bit more, but food products are the #1 cargo product that's stolen at the present time. Bypassed clothing, bypassed electronics. And this isn't just Georgia, it's nationwide, not Southeast, nationwide. When I go out and give these presentations, they make me do my Chris Berman, ESPN, 3 minutes here. I specialize in product tampering, adulteration, misbranding of food product. Our agency also is involved with large-scale food stamp trafficking, assault or threats on USDA employees like inspectors, safety of USDA lab research facilities, which there are several in Georgia, investigation of deaths of U.S. Forest Service employees, animal importation, smuggling, WIC trafficking, stolen infant formula, a big problem, not just in Georgia, the Southeast, across the U.S. It sounds funny, but every day shoplifting booster groups go out, Honduran and El Salvadoran, shoplift products, over-the-counter goods, infant formula, razors, Nicorette products, you name it. That goes in transportation, sometimes hauled innocently by transportation companies, sometimes hauled not so innocently by transportation companies on that. We're also involved in all kind of white-collar fraud, rural housing, rural utilities, crop insurance, bribery. The last one is sort of interesting. We don't do that much of, but we were the lead agency with the Virginia State Police on the Michael Vick investigation on that portion of it. And there was a lot of auxiliary leads that came down to Atlanta out of that case. And I met more people that just had one letter for their name, whether it be P, Q, R, S, T, V, or whatever on that. It was a very interesting portion of it. So it's a little agriculture humor. I didn't realize that one was still in there. And that one. What's being stolen in Georgia? Electronics was #1. And this changes. I mean, it's cyclical. It depends what thieves want to do on this, what's going good on this. I remember when toy stations and some things were big. Clothing, always popular. No serial numbers, hard to track. Food products, same issue. Even though there's controls and there's all kind of custodial issues, it still doesn't have serial numbers. It doesn't have a lot of things. Easy to fence, easy to move, a lot easier than you would think on that. Pharmaceuticals becoming very much bigger. Large loads. When an organized crime group hits pharmaceuticals, it's usually $1 million plus theft on that. Agriculture, probably more around the range of $100,000 if it's not a vegetable or produce load on that. For meat products, $100,000 to $150,000 a shot. House cleaning products, toys during holiday season. One thing that's sort of interesting, Georgia is in the top 5, and that's not something we're proud of on this, but we're in the top 5 of cargo thefts in the United States. California #1, Florida #2, and then we battle it out with Texas, New Jersey, New York, and Illinois for #3 position on that. Not something we're jumping up and down on. And something that came about, and we'll talk a little bit more about in a second, Georgia, through the GBI Major Theft Unit, has set up a group that's dedicated to cargo theft. Talk a little bit more about that. This is one thing, you know, every once in a while you got to beat your chest about something. And I've been working cargo theft, a lot of food safety issues since about 1999 on that portion of it, when I got involved in it. In September 11th, I used to work always with 2 FBI agents that were dedicated to interstate transportation of stolen property. After September 11th, those 2 agents got pulled off, terrorism-related work. So all of a sudden I was out on my own on this stuff anymore. You didn't have the backup to do it. We got together with the industry, with cargo, transportation, major corporations, federal, state, and local law enforcement, and created a group called the Southeast Transportation Security Council. I was one of the co-founders of that. We have federal law enforcement, and we got all the alphabet soup of names that are involved with it. We got the state, we got the GBI, Department of Public Safety, the state troopers, and motor carrier compliance. We've got numerous, and if I don't put somebody's name on there, they'll get mad at me, but sheriff's office and police departments throughout the state. And the last thing, is probably the most important, is we're working closely with industry now. And again, somebody's going to be torqued at me because I didn't put their company's name on that. They're all members of this particular group, the Southeast Transportation Security Council. We started off in June of 2002 with 30 companies. We're now up to 300. And this is sort of a force multiplier. When our information goes out about a cargo theft or something that's going on in the industry, it goes out across the country to other regional councils and to other cargo theft task force, whether it be Florida, California, New York, across the country. The objectives of the Southeast Transportation Security Council, which is again made up of federal, state, local, and corporations. We want to notify law enforcement and other SETC members of a cargo theft. Naturally, our concern on my end is the food product. We don't want it adulterated. We don't want it tampered on that portion of it. We send out intelligence bulletins regarding methods and groups involved in cargo theft. Two things in this. There's one thing going right now. A lot of brokers are getting scammed, truck brokers, by groups that are coming in, go onto a system called like the SAFER system through transportation industry, find a legitimate company with a real name, real insurance, real everything. They go ahead and the broker hires them on. This company who's a scam goes in, picks up a load, whether it be produce, whatever it is, at a particular distribution site or manufacturer, whatever it is, takes off with the load, never to be seen again. When they go follow behind it, they find out this was just all a scam, that somebody was using a legitimate transportation company's name to do this. We have other things going on. Meat product, all of a sudden trailers are become a hot box ticket for theft again. Last weekend I got 2 from California they sent me. We got 2 from Kansas City. I'm supposed to be the coordinator nationwide for this, and both this and the infant formula thefts portion of it. So I sort of try to keep up with everything that's going on the best you can on that. At times you're overwhelmed because it's cyclical. We may not see 12 trailer thefts of food product for a month, and then we'll see 100 come through over a period of time. So you just never know. It's all a cyclical type of event. But we know there's certain groups involved on this, and if I had a lot of time, we'd talk about the different groups we see. We got the homegrown groups that are just local, but then we have some that are also nationwide groups that go out and steal product. At this group, the Southeast Transportation Security Council, which any corporation can be a member, we provide training on cargo theft issues. We have monthly meetings where corporations can come in, freely talk to law enforcement. A lot of times there's concerns, what goes there stays there. There's insurance problems with companies, or they don't want information released, everything. Or they can pull law enforcement aside, and you get to meet face to face and say, here's the problem I've got. I don't want to say it to the group, but here's what we ran into. We're missing a trailer, or we had a theft, we had something going. This is for SETC, if anyone's interested. It's the Regional Southeast Transportation Security Council that has that information, has my contact information. If anyone for the transportation or any corporation might be interested, we'd be glad to talk to you about that anytime. War story time. This is a nice Sunday fall afternoon in the Bluff in Atlanta. This is about a mile west of the Georgia Dome. It's Heroin Alley. It looks pretty nice and serene right now at this point in time. At night, it's not quite that way. This store here is not what you think of as your typical fencing operation. This store is taking in $80,000 worth of stolen goods every 2 weeks and sending it to Brooklyn. There was a store, a competing family, maybe a mile away, similar type store, $80,000 every 2 weeks, sent into Brooklyn. We just finally finished up the case where the person in Brooklyn has also pled guilty. $6 million worth of stolen goods over an 18-month period went to Brooklyn. That's not abnormal. Atlanta is a hub for transportation, for stolen goods, for a lot of different things on this. We're constantly working. This was mainly retail goods that went here, but the informants that we've had on this were primarily heroin addicts. They were looking for the big ticket. They wanted to hit that cigarette truck. That was their lottery truck. If we could steal a cigarette truck, that's $1 million. That's like winning the lottery for me. Or if we could get a pharmaceutical truck on that. Or they love the food trailers, even if it's just pilferage, because you can get rid of food quickly and nobody can really track it. It's not like you've got a television or a GPS or something like that. Food product can be just fenced like that. And you think there's not operations available, there's places you can go with food product on that. This is just one war story, and people usually think fencing operations could be huge warehouses. Now, this is where it starts. It goes here, gets taken off site where it's consolidated, When they have enough stolen product, it's shipped to a larger warehouse. In this case, it was mainly infant formula, razors, diabetic glucose type products, testing strips. They would clean off, showing it came from Kroger, Walmart, wherever, Target, wherever it came from, before it'd be redistributed. Here's the problem we run into. Like with the infant formula, sometimes they'd screw up the label and they'd slap another label on. Well, say you had an infant that had some allergy. You don't know what's getting back on that label that's put back on there. They have cleaning methods that was used in Brooklyn to clean off the products, to clean off the electronic activation devices, all the products on there to make it. One of the things we say, this is staying in-house. It's staying in the United States. It's not going out. You'll see a lot of stories. All this stuff's going all over the world. Usually no. It's being cleaned up, being put back in the United States as a threat, a risk to people in the United States. Okay, this is my mouse print PowerPoint slide. You always got to have one where everybody in the back row is getting the binoculars out to try to see what's going on here. One of the things me and Kenny Cash run into, and we get a lot of phone calls and Kenny sort of talked about a little bit, is that if you're a transportation company or if you have product and there's an accident, there's a spillage, whatever, all the time, I-285, 75, truck spills some product, gets hit. There's a whole little section we want to go through. The primary contact in Georgia, and each state has one of these. In Georgia, it'd be the Georgia Department of Agriculture Consumer Protection Division. Then after that, we have secondary, myself, if it's criminal. And then I wish I had another slide on this, the GBI Major Theft Unit, if there's a criminal activity involved, if it was something that was a stolen product, gets wrecked, they should also be notified. Or if it's food, I'll go ahead and be notified too, that's fine. But it gives us a whole little laundry list of what to do. Well, I wanted to keep this short because I know it's going to be the last speaker here. And I know they'll be pulling the cord here in a second on that. But as it goes along, I'm going to be staying around. If you have any questions, any concerns, a lot of times people don't want to bring up, hey, I had a stolen load, and it's, I don't really want to talk about it in front of everybody else. Be glad to talk about it, take time, answer any questions on that. Thank you, and I think that was it.